About 2 weeks ago, I received a letter from one of our clients. Let me share that with you. Subject: urgent help needed, skyrocketing AWS costs. I'm writing to you in a state of panic. Our company's AWS bills have been climbing faster than a SpaceX rocket, and I'm at my wit's end trying to figure out why. Last month's bill was enough to make our CFO faint. If this trend continues, we might have to start selling office furniture to keep the lights on in our cloud infrastructure. Can you please help us understand what's causing this cost explosion and how we can bring our AWS spending back down to earth? Sound familiar? Guess what? You're not alone. Hello, I'm Mihai Balessi, a senior DevOps engineer from Hungary. I'm an AWS community builder, an AWS user group leader, and an AWS New Voices foundational speaker. As a cost expert, we all know how to solve issues like this. But can we use generative AI to solve a solution? Now, Amazon Q Developer has a cost agent that can answer cost-related questions. And we will make this perplexed AWS user a cloud cost expert. I'm going to ask a series of questions that the user could have asked for Amazon Q Developer if he could solve their cost issues. Now, Amazon Q Developer uses Cost Explorer for their data. So the information you will see here is from Cost Explorer. But you don't have to know anything about Cost Explorer. In fact, you don't have to be in the Cost Explorer page. You can ask these questions anywhere in the AWS Management Console. So let's start by a simple question. Hey Q, what were my costs through May through July? Now, when you ask a question for Amazon Q, you have to be very specific because Amazon Q has multiple agents. You have to make sure that the cost agent responds. Here, we are leveraging prompt engineering, so Q exactly identifies that this question is related to cost. We are also exactly describing the range through May through to July. Now, we get the answer in just seconds. In Cost Explorer, this could take up minutes. And now we can identify that we did have a cost increase, and we get the exact numbers. But we would like to know more. What factors drove the increase through May through July? Now, we get a quite long answer. This is just a shorter one. But you can see that the main cost drivers were EC2 and EC2 other. Now, you may ask that these two are related to EC2. Why are they separate? Now, that's because Cost Explorer manages this data. EC2 other refers to services that have, for example, support, like a service of RDS. So with this question, we could narrow it down that the main driver for our cost increase was EC2. But what's the issue with EC2? How did my July spend break down on-demand instances versus reserved? And boom, we got the answer right here. So now we know that we forgot to reserve our instances, or our reserved instances have been expired. So now we know what's the issue. But what kind of EC2 instances are we talking about? Can Q answer this question? And yes, we get an exact answer saying that our T3 medium instances are the main cost drivers. So we have to check our T3 medium instances, how we have reserved them. Now, we can dive a little deeper and ask questions like if we are using a multi-account, what kind of account these costs are related to. If we are a cost expert and we are leveraging tagging, we can also use tagging and get responses related to a tag of resources. So what could we achieve? Quite a lot. First, we could validate that we had a cost increase. We know the exact numbers. We could identify that the issue is related to EC2. What kind of EC2 instances were we affected? And we can now make actionable stuff, what we should do. Now, let's compare Amazon Q to a human cost expert. If we did a small in-house study, and as you can see, there's quite a few factors that Amazon Q is quite good. Look at the response time. We got answers for these questions in minutes. If you're hiring a human cost expert, that could be a response you could get in an hour or more. Same as for cost. If you would like to try out this service, for 25 questions a month, you get that for free. And you can use Amazon Q Pro for $19 per month, and you can unlimited questions regarding your cost. For scalability, it's an unlimited scalability while a human cost expert is limited. But I think one of the most important thing is availability. You can ask Q a question anytime you want. You don't have to wait for someone to work on business hours. Now, why a human expertise is still needed? Customization. There's lack of customization in Amazon Q. Also, complex problems. It does check your previous questions and gets your context, but it's hard to understand for him complex problems. As well as context interpretation. If you're not leveraging prompt engineering, then you might get an answer from a different agent and from a wrong answer. So if you're a cost expert, don't worry, you won't lose your job. But when do people hire a cost expert? When usually the house is already on fire, when your costs are already increasing. I'm going to show you two simple questions that can show you how you can leverage Q related to cost that could help you create resources cost effectively. Look at this question. This question is probably asked by someone who doesn't know too much about AWS. He wants a WordPress blog, and he wants it to run cost effectively. So what would you say? What would your answer be? If I ask a solutions architect, he would probably say something like an EC2 with a savings plan. But if you look at Q's answer, I think this is a better solution. He's recommending Lightsail. This service is especially designed for people just starting on AWS. And we are also taking into account cost effectiveness, because Lightsail has consistent pricing across all regions. If you're starting an EC2 instance, how could you tell someone that if they use one region, on the other they will have different pricing? And also it tells us the 1 year free tier. Let's look at a more advanced question. For this question, you have to understand what is DICOM. DICOM is a standard for storing medical imaging. So probably someone who asked this question wants to store a large amount of data with fast retrieval. Now that's a complex question if you want to store this in S3, especially cost effectively. And what you get is AWS Half Imaging, which is the perfect service for these solutions. So it's not only provides fast retrieval, but it also provides a cost-effective way of storing your DICOM image data. So what have we learned? First, there are some generative AI solutions regarding to cost, but they mostly target the enterprise. They are very expensive. Amazon Q Developer is easy to get started. So if you're a customer, then just get started and ask simple questions, and you will be surprised how good responses you may get. If you're a cost expert, you can still use this service. You don't need any third-party integration, but customers will still get back to you because for advanced cost analysis, your expertise is still needed. I would like to thank you for attending my session. Please check out my blog on roadtoaws.com or connect me with LinkedIn. And please complete the session survey in the mobile app.